This adaptation removed the psychological mechanisms that made the characters work. Spoilers ahead. When you adapt a story, you can change the medium, the pacing, even the tone. What you cannot change is the internal logic that drives character behavior. Netflix's Avatar made surface-level changes that collapsed the structural foundation of multiple character arcs. These are not creative choices. These are narrative errors. Here is what broke and why it matters. Error 1. Removing Aang's guilt. The original series opens with a single defining trauma. Aang ran away. He abandoned his responsibility as the Avatar because he was 12 years old and terrified. 100 years pass. Everyone he loved is dead. The guilt is not something he talks about in episode 1. It is something he avoids talking about for 20 episodes. His entire early arc is built on deflection, humor, and distraction. He does not want to be the Avatar because being the Avatar means confronting what his fear cost the world. The Netflix version removes this. Aang leaves the Southern Aid Temple because he is overwhelmed, but he does not run from his duty. He gets caught in a storm by accident. The difference seems small. It is not. By removing intentional avoidance, you remove the guilt. By removing the guilt, you remove the psychological wound his entire arc is built to resolve. Growth requires a starting point. If Aang begins a story already willing to accept his role, there is nowhere for him to grow toward. The Netflix version gives him angst without giving him the flaw that makes the angst meaningful. In episode 3, he is already talking about his responsibility to the world. In episode 5, he is openly accepting his role as the Avatar. This would be the endpoint of a season-long arc in the original. Here, it happens before he learns waterbending. The result is a character who feels anxious but not conflicted. He worries, but he does not avoid. And avoidance is the engine. Without it, his journey becomes a checklist of external obstacles instead of an internal reckoning. Error 2. Erasing Katara's anger. In the original, Katara is angry, not sad, angry. Her mother was killed protecting her. She has been forced into a caretaker role for her entire village while her father is at war. She is 14 years old, and she has been the responsible one for so long that she has internalized a single belief. Everyone else is allowed to be reckless except her. When she water bends, it is not gentle. It is explosive. Her power comes from rage she has been suppressing under layer of maternal responsibility. The show lets her be angry and soft at the same time. That contradiction is what makes her compelling. The Netflix version removes the anger. She is kind. She is hopeful. She is supportive. These are fine traits, but they are not a psychological engine. The original Katara's arc is learning that she is allowed to want things for herself, that she does not have to be the mom friend, that her anger at the Fire Nation is valid, and she can use it without losing her compassion. Netflix Katara does not have that anger to work through. She is already balanced. So when she masters waterbending, it does not feel earned through emotional breakthrough. It just happens because the plot needs it to. There is a scene in the animated series where she yells at Zuko for calling her a woman in a dismissive way. She phrases him to a wall. It is a small moment, but it tells you everything. She will not be diminished. Netflix kept the sibling bickering but removed the edge. The result is a character who is easy to like and impossible to invest in, because she has no internal war to resolve. Error 3. Bending without struggle. In the original, water bending is hard. Katara practices obsessively. She fails repeatedly. She watches Aang pick it up faster than her, and she sees with jealousy. Then she feels guilty for being jealous. That struggle is the point. Mastery means something because it requires sacrifice, repetition, and emotional honesty. By the time she fights Paku, you believe she has earned it. Netflix compresses this into montages. Katara becomes competent between episodes. Aang barely practices. There is no sequence where they fail and have to try again. The show treats bending like a video game skill tree. You unlock it when the story says you are ready. But bending in the original was never about readiness. It was about confronting the emotional block that prevents you from accessing your own power. Katara could not heal until she stopped mothering everyone. Aang could not enter the Avatar state until he stopped running. Toph could not metal bend until she stopped defining herself by what others said she could not do. Remove the emotional component, and bending becomes a special effect. It looks impressive, but it does not mean anything. Error 4. Zuko's premature sympathy. The original waits 13 episodes before showing you his compassionate side. You see him as the villain. You watch him hunt Aang with obsessive, irrational focus. You think he is just an angry, entitled prince. Then the show gives you his backstory. You realize his honor obsession is not pride. It is desperation. He thinks earning his father's approval will make him whole. It will not, but he does not know that yet. The tension comes from watching him get close to redemption and then choose the Fire Nation anyway, over and over, because his trauma will not let him believe he deserves anything else. Netflix shows you Zuko's scar in episode 1. It shows you his father's cruelty in episode 2. It shows him being kind to his crew in episode 3. By episode 4, the audience already knows he is redeemable. This removes the psychological tension. You are no longer watching a villain slowly reveal hidden depth. You are watching a hero who is temporarily on the wrong side. The original earned your empathy by making you distrust it first. Netflix asks for your empathy up front. That makes his eventual redemption feel inevitable instead of hard won. Error 5. The consequence-free avatar state. In the original, Aang entering the avatar state is terrifying. He loses control. He nearly kills people. The power is immense, but it comes with a cost. He is not himself when it happens, and that frightens him. It is a strategic last resort, not a win button. The show spends an entire episode explaining that if he dies in the avatar state, the cycle ends forever. The stakes are metaphysical. Netflix uses the avatar state 4 times in 8 episodes. Each time, Aang enters it, solves the problem, and exits with no consequences. No one is afraid of it. No one warns him. It becomes a spectacle instead of a burden. When power has no cost, it has no weight. What consistent choices would look like? If the goal was to adapt the story faithfully, these would be small changes. But the goal of adaptation is not faithfulness. It is internal consistency. You can change anything as long as the new version follows its own rules. Netflix's Avatar does not. It removes character flaws but keeps character arcs. It eliminates emotional stakes but tries to maintain emotional payoff. It speeds past the struggle but wants you to feel the triumph. A consistent version would make different choices. If you want Aang to accept his role early, then his arc becomes about learning what that role costs, not whether he will accept it. If you want Katara to be kind and hopeful from the start, then her arc becomes about maintaining that hope in the face of war, not discovering her own needs. If you want Zuko to be sympathetic immediately, then his arc becomes about choosing between 2 valid paths, not clawing his way towards self-worth. These would all work, but they would require building the story around the new psychological starting points. Instead, the show kept the original story beats and removed the internal logic that connects them. The result is a version that feels like it is imitating the shape of the original without understanding the structure. You can change the story, but if you remove the engine, the car does not move.